Good morning, everybody. Welcome to IT Live, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Tex Homer. That's Ian Boyd. Today, we're going to discuss how can Muschamp handle those pesky mobile quarterbacks, and then the Stoops hire. What does that actually mean? But before we discuss, head over to Inside Texas. Join for $1 right now. Description is below the video. Just click it. You can get the link, and you can come join us right before spring ball. All right, Ian. We've heard that Georgia could sometimes be vexed when dealing with running quarterbacks. And then we'll see if that's true, why that's true, and all that jazz. Do you want to set the stage here with the common saying about Georgia, how to beat them?
With a quarterback who can run.
Wow. Is it true?
Yeah, it is true. Kirby Smart complained about it after Jalen Milroe beat them in 2024. He was like, look, you're trying to stop them from throwing it deep, and then you're also trying to stop them from running it when they have an advantage in the box, and it's really hard to do both. And there's other complications too we'll get into. But here are Georgia's, 6 losses? 6 losses. They've lost six times in 3 years, which is pretty good, especially since they didn't win. They only won the national championship once in those 3 years. They won the SEC 2 out of those 3 times, right? And every time they lost, the quarterback running was a factor. The last 2 don't look like it as much, but if you watch that game last year, Alabama got some huge gains early with Ty Simpson picking up third downs, and he ran for a touchdown. And then Alabama kind of coasted the rest of the game. Too much, really. And then Trinidad Chambliss did not run the ball a ton, but his legs were definitely a factor. Jackson Dart, Riley Leonard, and Jalen Milroe straight up ran the ball regularly and often, and those were big factors in those defeats for Georgia.
I also saw a clinic piece where they said that they had to figure out their cover 2 man because they were getting absolutely demolished by quarterback runs. That was a Schumann clinic, but he was saying we were turning our backs and they were running us out. And you'll talk about more man match, but they even say it in the clinic that like we're too vulnerable to quarterback run. Let's set the stage on the 2 types of quarterback run, Ian. What are they?
There's 2 ways you can get burned by a quarterback with legs. There's the obvious way where he goes back to pass, you cover his receivers, but then he turns and runs on you while you're busy covering his receivers and scrambles around. That one is contextually, it matters a lot. If teams do that on third down, you can kind of plan for it. If you're like, okay, on third down, they like to spread everyone out. And if you drop everyone out, then the quarterback will just run. You can plan for that. That's not really as scary. What's actually really scary is when teams do that on first and second down, and they do it regularly. That's when you really get up against it. Vince Young, Cole McCoy would do that, etc. Sam Ellinger would do that. The other type of quarterback run is the intentional kind. It's basically intentional versus sort of unintentional. So intentional meaning you design the play for the quarterback to carry the ball in the run game, either on an option or on a direct snap where there's no option and he's just the featured runner all the way. Both of these are really a challenge for everybody. And in some ways, maybe a particular challenge to the Nick Saban school of defense that Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp are practitioners of.
And what about that style? And we've talked a lot about it on the Saturday shows. If you watch the Pack and Ian explaining Muschamp's system, you'll see. But what is it about that style of defense that allows this to happen?
Against the unintentional quarterback runs, the problem is the heavy emphasis on man coverage. We noted in the very first episode with Pack Pack was explaining the whole foundation of this defense is man coverage and creating double teams, either with the sideline or with the safeties, right? That was such a brilliant, succinct. I'd never thought about it in that way before.
Right, me too.
It made that whole, it's really the Belichick school of defense too. So it makes that whole school of defense, it just opens up the underlying premise of it when you get that. So I really appreciated that. But if you're building everything around man coverage, then that means you're building everything around your secondary guys turning their backs to the quarterback. And so if he's willing to pull the ball down and run on any down, then you could get into real trouble.
Real trouble.
You want me to go on to the next one?
Sure.
The problem with the direct snap quarterback run or the option quarterback run against this school, for like Georgia in particular, is that Georgia is all about being ultra gap sound, making sure we can have a guy in wherever gap you want to run to. We're going to wait and see where you go. We're going to position guys off the ball so that they can be there when you try to get there. And we're going to keep a reserve basically of troops so that wherever you show up, we can get there and we can limit the damage, right? Super smart way to play defense, just like the man coverage and double teams thing. The problem is if your whole premise is we're going to wait back and then get there when you get there, and then they're running direct snap quarterback run where they get a numbers and math and geometry advantage at the point of attack, then they may not get very good runs on you, but it can become very, very hard to stop them from getting
3 yards or 2 yards.
Consistent gain.
Yeah.
So if they can do good enough overall to get into 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, 3rd and 3 kind of scenarios, then they can just hammer you for those first downs, which is what Ole Miss did that to some extent against them. And I think in the regular season game, they did that a little more with Chambliss and Juan Lacey. Kentucky almost beat them a couple of years ago doing that with Brock Vandegrift. Milroe did that. Kirby Smart used to have trouble at Alabama with Auburn and Gus Malzahn doing that with like Cam Newton and Marshall. Was it Trey Marshall or whoever that was? You're not going to help me there, but that is a potential weakness. When your whole defense is designed to concede small gains, if the other team has a trick that makes them ultra efficient picking up small gains, then they've just called your bluff, basically.
We even seen it a little bit in the pass game, right? If Georgia wants to play off and really look, they'll throw short in that way too. So there's a bit of a, we've seen it, right? Like the DBs and the pass coverages have to stay a little bit back because they have to see the declaration of the route. So there's variations to change it, but at its core, you need depth to see the variation of the declaration. And then in the front side, like we said with the linebackers, they keep the linebackers back a little bit to read and try to meet you at the spot. So
they keep the safeties back too.
They keep the safeties back too, right? And so that can be a problem if a team is willing to dink and dunk and play really quick game style principles. You could theoretically be giving up those 3 yards at a time. Now they have all the answers. It's not like they've been like, oh, we're out of luck. I mean, they have ways to go and press. They have different fronts they can use. So it's not like it's a final solve. But if you were just to take the base weakness potentially of this, that could be it, is those little gains.
Any adjustment that you make to answer for these problems is probably opening you up against something else.
Yeah, it's a defense
you're normally robust against.
Yeah.
And it's not like this is like a huge flaw in this defense. It's more that this defense prides itself on being able to absolutely clamp anything and everything you want to do with like the perfectly calibrated call. And for this kind of deal, they don't necessarily have that anymore. And so then they can be had. The Pack will probably disagree, but maybe not actually.
We'll see. I mean, I think at its core, that is an issue. I think they have answers, but like you said, it's a defense, right? As soon as you solve one answer, you can't solve for everything, or else you'd be in that defense 24/7. So you will open yourself up. But this could add potential frustrations with quarterback run game, something that wasn't necessarily a big issue in PK's time, which is nice. Maybe at some clutch moments, right? But generally, we held down those athletic quarterbacks. What are some solutions, though? We've presented the problem. Everybody's now nervous about quarterback run. What are some ways you can mitigate that?
Well, PK, let's talk about PK solution real quick because it won't be the same. PK's solution to this was the same thing as PK's solution to pretty much everything, which is we're going to play a lot of zone match from 4 down, and you might be able to dink and dunk us with quarterback runs or quarterback scrambles, just like you can dink and dunk us in anything else you want to do. But we're not going to be super vulnerable to anything. And we're going to have guys with eyes on the ball all the time. And we're going to be disciplined up front. And we're just going to make it really hard. And chances are you'll screw up or we'll make a big play. Right?
We'll maintain our rush lanes. We'll do that style. And I mean, why can Muschamp not implement some of that?
He can. So some of it, yes. The zone part where you have linebackers and safeties with eyes in the backfield, that's just not Muschamp's thing. And you're like, well, he could make an adjustment for the scrambling quarterbacks on the schedule, right? That's all the quarterbacks on the schedule. That's what we talked about the other week.
Yeah.
He's either wholesale changing his philosophy or he's got to make it work with what he already wants to do. And it's probably going to be the second one, right? So just dropping into like cover 3 zone match and trying to position your linebackers and safeties so that they can notice when Levitt breaks out. That's not going to be it in all likelihood. Not without some major adjustments from Muschamp.
I mean, they carry it, right? They carry cover 3. Probably what did Pack say? Like a quarter of the time they'll be in 3. So it's there. It's just what does he want to do most of the time?
Is he willing to be in that? Like,
well, that's the problem. If everyone's a rushing quarterback, now you do just become a 70, or not even. No one's ever 70%, but you get what I'm saying, like a 40% cover 3 team.
Yeah.
So yeah, and is everyone spread too?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The non-spread teams are potentially Florida. Yeah, their quarterback actually can run too, right? Mensah?
I don't know. I haven't seen him.
He can move around a little bit. And then Ohio State, Sayin, who's actually also a little bit mobile, but he's not. If you make it easy, he'll take off, but it's not his game. So, yeah. The short yardage stuff, which will also come into play with like the guy at Mississippi State. I can't remember his name. He's the up and coming guy.
Kamario Taylor.
He almost exclusively, I don't know if he threw a pass last year, but he played a lot and he ran the ball a bunch.
Yeah, they bring him in for short yardage and goal line.
So obviously they have that. Levitt can do that a little bit.
Marcel Reed, Mateer.
Reed, Reed's not really not that good at it because he's just too slight. Mateer is actually, I would say, good at it.
You're talking about the designed run portion?
I'm talking about 3rd and 2 quarterback power, Ellinger style.
Okay, gotcha.
There's a couple guys that can do it. There's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 at least that could do it credibly enough. Stopping that is just a matter of risk tolerance and will, and also just pure talent. So like if the what people love about like quarterback power on 3rd and 1 is that it can set the offense up to get an extra guy so that they get like double teams on all the key blocks, and they get a +1 there at the point of attack. And it's just, they make it really hard for you to get enough defenders to stop them unless you do one of 2 things. You put a safety like in the box and don't have deep help on any pass, which you could do, but I don't think that's a great idea.
Yeah, we like our doubles, right?
Well, and you just, quarterback play action on power will rip you apart if you're not ready for it. The quarterback ducks his head, everybody flies in, then he pulls back up, and now there's no one in the deep middle. It's not great. The other one is you just beat blocks. And it doesn't matter that they have extra blockers. You just beat them because you're better.
Yep.
That's great. Texas probably can do that some. At other times, maybe not. Right?
Yeah, it won't work 100% of the time. You would like something schematic that is why you win. But I do think, Georgia had that kind of ability, though. So hopefully we can get that level of aggression and just winning.
It didn't really they still had trouble with this. Because if the other team is smart, they're just going to double team whoever the most dangerous guy is to stop the play. And now not only are you counting on being exceptional, but you're counting on being exceptional like on the backside or something.
That's true when you're talking power, yeah.
And they're not Georgia doesn't play to like shoot the backfield and make plays anyway.
Yeah,
so,
they don't penetrate.
But this doesn't have to be a huge deal. Honestly. It's like if the other team is pretty good at picking up 3rd and 2, they still have to get to the point where that even is relevant to victory.
Unless they do it on 1st and 2nd and they get 3 and 3.
Like Haynes King. If they run their quarterback like 25 times like Georgia Tech did and just do this the whole game, then you can be in trouble. I don't know if there's anyone on the schedule that will do that.
Or risk their quarterback to that level.
Mississippi State and Kamario Taylor. Maybe Mateer in Oklahoma. I think they would let him bleed out on the field if it meant beating Texas. I don't know if anybody else is really a big threat to do that. So this is something to keep in mind, but not the big deal. The scrambling quarterback is the bigger deal. I noted like when Arch Manning came into the game in 2024, he torched them on a scramble or two early where they were playing man coverage, man match with their linebackers. The linebackers would chase running backs, and then Manning would take off up the middle. And so Georgia flipped to spying instead with their linebackers. There's 2 ways to handle the scrambling quarterback on a passing down. Well, there's 3 ways. You can play zone so that nobody gets too far away from the quarterback. You can bring 4, but tell your defensive linemen, do not run past the quarterback at all costs. Keep him in front of you. And when you do that, it usually gives him more time to throw because they have to multitask, and it makes it harder to rush the passer. But you can take away the scramble. Or you rush 3, you let them play a little more aggressively around the edges, but you have a really good chaser spying him. So for Texas has so many options. They could use Colin Simmons for that. They could use Anthony Smith. They could use Rasheem Biles. They could drop Jelani McDonald to do that, right?
So this is the 4-man contain.
Yeah, let's do this. If you watch this, Georgia rushes 4 on Max Duggan, and they are careful not to run deeper than Duggan. So he drops back. He doesn't like what he sees. He decides to pull the ball down and run because he's really fast. And he can't get anywhere because the linemen are waiting for him.
Yeah.
There's no easy outlets. This one is on Jackson Dart that same year. So these are both Muschamp coached deals. They put 5 up front, so it looks like they're blitzing, but they drop out both edges, I think. Rush 3 and spy with the linebacker. So you still have 7 guys in coverage. Your 3 guys rushing the quarterback can be a little more aggressive.
And they have a rule from a clinic too. They're not going to wait for the quarterback to just start full sprinting at the line before they spy. The rule is as soon as he makes any variance off of a normal drop, they trigger. So as soon as he's out of rhythm, they go and attack, which is nice as opposed to them waiting. And now the quarterback has gained up speed and now he can juke you and all that stuff. So this is a technique that I'm sure Muschamp will employ with the Sply. Once the quarterback starts acting weird, they'll fire on him, like right there.
Is that what happened there?
Mm-hmm. Here's his drop. He gets a little weird, and then they fire late.
I don't know. It almost looked like the linebacker just saw a lane to take.
They will go to daylight. But if you, I don't know if it's the Kirby one I sent you, but that's the rule. It's not a blitz until the quarterback is off timing.
Harold Perkins very famously built his entire reputation as a pass rusher, racking up sacks as a spy in like a single game against Arkansas. And he was never anywhere near as good a pass rusher as people thought. And he just was a really nasty spy because he could run down a quarterback.
You spent years, whatever you can do to destroy Harold Perkins' hype, you've done a great job of.
Well,
you've never liked him as a player. No, I get it. I'm not saying you're not valid in it. It's just from day one, you were like, he is sinking this defense because they're trying to force an athlete that doesn't play the scheme, right?
Actually, I got in an argument with like Jerry Hamilton early on that he was a 5-star, and I was like, he doesn't have I don't think he has a position.
Yeah.
So I don't know that he's a 5-star because he actually has to learn to play somewhere, and it's probably needs to be inside linebacker. And we all watched this before with Malik Jefferson and other guys. It takes forever for them to learn how to do that after they've just been play ball, see ball, hit ball from the edge for 2 or 3 years in high school.
Yeah.
And then he did that garbage deal where he was like, I know probably a lot of y'all laughed at it, but he was like talking about A&M. He was going to maybe come to A&M. And then he did LSU at the last minute and did some like Instagram video where he was like lighting an A&M hat on fire. And it was just like, this is not
the mental eval you want.
This is not the mental eval you want. He's either going to be a stone cold killer on the field, and this will look awesome, or it's going to turn out that he's like all bark. And guess what? He had to learn a position, and he wasn't so tough when he had to read blocks and make run fits. So
before we wrap this here, let's hear a word from Academy.
You can't guard me. You need a break to Ellie tonight. Do you need a break?
Ben, your mom called. Looks like you're stuck with us tonight.
Let's go! Give me a shred.
All right. So in wrapping up, Ian, we showed a couple ways Georgia can solve the rushing quarterback. Guys like Muschamp love having multiple options so they can calibrate the defense with varied calls for specific opponents. But what are your final thoughts here?
So you have the deal where you can do 4-man contain rush or 3-man in a spy on the scrambling quarterback. The problem is when the scrambling quarterback will scramble on first down, like I said. If you're only doing that on third down, it's not that big of an adjustment. If you have to do it on first and second down, it is an adjustment because now you have to make sure that your defense is sound against that contingency full time, right? It looks like I think Muschamp may prefer the 4-man contain rush. We may have to go back and look at some more of his defenses at Texas back in the day. He was a 4-down guy back then anyways, so it may not be a great
well, Eric too said that they like 4-down.
Yeah.
I think it suits the personnel better too. But also the more you learn about the mint front, I do think it does suit the defensive ends particularly. But the more you learn about the mint, you're like, yeah, this is a really valuable tool. Like this works a lot on your first and second down. But I think I think you're right in your gut saying that he'd prefer the 4-down contain. But if you're worried about it on early downs, that means you're not playing mint on early downs. And then what are you dealing with RPOs and that kind of stuff too? So there's other ways you can get got doing that, right?
Yeah. Like TCU actually ran the ball really well against Georgia a couple of times, which is completely forgotten in history because Georgia obliterated them 65-7. And so looking back, you're like, TCU didn't do anything good, right? But if you go back and watch it, that's not what got them. They took some bad sacks. They had a bad fumble early. They could not stop Georgia at all and got completely taken out of their rhythm. TCU ran inside zone for chunks early in the game, and it was partly because Georgia had to be conscious of this kind of stuff, and they couldn't play their normal meant for mod stuff, right? That we've talked about a million times, because they didn't want Duggan doing the Dougie on him after a 10-yard scramble or whatever. So
that was the worst national championship ever. That was such a horrible football game. Oh man, ugh. That's just like a knockout in the first 3 minutes of the fight.
They also couldn't block Georgia's 4-man rush.
So when you think Muschamp's defense, you're a consultant, what are you kind of warning of this year? Of we've talked about all the good things that we love about Muschamp's defense, but is quarterback run one that you're like, hey, be wary of that as potential? Are there a couple of things that you think that we're susceptible to?
That's 1, 2, and 3, because it's so freaking prevalent on the schedule. It's this is the thing. If you can stuff this, you're going to cakewalk to 10 wins and you'll go to the playoffs. And then, whatever from there. You can have your contingency for the playoffs if you think you'll get a different kind of team there. But Ole Miss, LSU, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Mississippi State. Who did we say? Where did we say Mensah went? Oh, he went to Florida. Is Florida on the schedule again? I'm forgetting.
Is Florida on the schedule? Chat. You can search it, see if they'll beat you.
Well, Brad Jackson, so that's 6. Florida is on the schedule. That's 7. It's
they're saying Mensah's at Miami.
Oh, Mensah's at Miami. I can't remember who Florida has as quarterback then. Philo. Oh, the Georgia Tech guy.
But half of the schedule is going to have this going on, right?
I'm at 6, and I'm looking at Philo's stats from last year. Philo is a sturdy guy. So he may fit into that mold as well. And they have that offensive coordinator. So that would be 7 guys that you could expect are going to run the ball pretty. If you can handle this, that's your whole schedule.
What about dominant number ones with good fade throwing quarterbacks? Because this is the one thing I think of with man match. And of course, there's answers to this too. There's answers in every part of the scheme. But Ole Miss was able to do that. Really, anybody can cook. But if you're worried about things happening in the middle of the field, the most simple passing idea is just I'm just going to throw outside. So do you worry about that at all in a man match system?
Not to the playoffs. In the regular season, it's we have to be able to stop scrambling quarterbacks and quarterback run. And I don't think that the same list of teams doesn't present the same problems, I don't think, throwing back shoulder fades at volume against Littleton and Masco and Phillips and whoever. In the playoffs, for sure. But in the regular season, I don't feel like that's going to catch you that many times.
Well, nothing that fans hate more than quarterback run. So hopefully that is not an issue for us, because that – even with PK, who was pretty sound against it, it always felt like there was that moment, that backbreaker,
really?
Georgia, yeah, in the SEC championship, that draw. Oklahoma quarterback draw in the red zone. There was always that, but it's just teams are so susceptible to quarterback runs in general. But I thought PK did a good – sometimes he did it when it didn't even make sense. He was contain rushing Lagway, who was clearly hurt. So sometimes we even overdid it with how safe we were with quarterback run. But
yeah. Well, when you get called out by your head coach after a rivalry loss for giving up quarterback runs, that'll leave a firm impression, I guess.
I just feel like everyone does it, man. I feel like quarterback run is damn near impossible unless you're hyper aware of it and you've kind of game planned specifically to stop it, but then there's risk to other parts of your defense when you do that. But I
It's
just think
the
everyone struggles with it, especially designed runs. Like just the math is tough.
I think it's the worst is the spread passing air raid quarterback run.
Yeah, if he runs and scrambles, but I'm talking about purely on a whiteboard, it's difficult to deal with
I think it's
quarterback lead run
I think
without
it's
having to go into single high.
I think it's the air raid one and also the air raid quarterback draw RPO. That I think is the highest, scariest form of quarterback run.
Draw RPO, but the reality of power is just you have the extra blocker plus a running back plus a +1. I mean, just mathematically,
at least you can see it coming. At least you can see it coming.
Sometimes, yeah.
If like A&M would do this, and somebody asked at the beginning of the chat, they said, other than 09 A&M, did any mobile quarterbacks vex Boom's defense? Boom being Muschamp. Yeah. 2012, A&M had just hired Cliff Kingsbury under Kevin Sumlin to install the air raid. And then they were starting this redshirt freshman from the Hill Country named Johnny Manziel. And Muschamp played them in like single high man or single high match. And A&M would line up 5 wide receivers and then like pull a guard and run lead quarterback draw attached to air raid concept like Y stick or something. And so you've got to cover 5 guys out in space or he'll just zip a quick pass for first down. And then when you go spread out to cover 5 wide in space, then little Manziel was darting into the interior gaps and just running wild. And Florida had like no idea what to do. Nobody throughout the season had any idea what to do, except one team. This will just touch on what we get into next week. The one team that really had a good answer for it was LSU. And they played like a 3-2-6 dime. And they just made sure that they had guys that are faster than Johnny Manziel. They had like just as many guys that were as fast as or faster than Johnny Manziel on the field as possible.
So we know in Mint that the backside linebacker is responsible for is the quarterback player, right? How do you feel confident with Ty Anthony Smith or Biles' speed being able to chase down the more quick quarterbacks?
On the zone read or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Depending on the quarterback, should be fine. You have to practice that. You have to have the right spacing and angles. But just in terms of physical talent, they should be fine. You could probably do it with even less athletic guys than that, I would guess, if they really know what they're doing.
Any final thoughts on quarterback run, Ian?
I think Lance Jackson is going to be one of the most important pieces. What are they going to ask Lance Jackson to do? How are they going to play him in the fronts? He is like the super talented kind of blank canvas player that they need to figure out. He's one of the guys that it's like, how do we defend this and this and this and this all at the same time? And you do it with superstars and with super versatile hybrid players. So Colin Simmons, obviously, but that one's straightforward, sort of. Lance Jackson, to me, seems like one of the key pieces of like, how are we going to use Lance Jackson? He might hold the key to solving for this, as well as maybe Jelani McDonald or someone that could end up playing like nickel or dime. The guy that is really smart and can just tackle anything that materializes in the middle of the field. The guy that's like always finds the ball and always makes the tackle. If you can find that guy somewhere on the roster, that's the other piece.
You said the magic words. Lance Jackson holds the key, and I agree. I think he's a baller, dude. I cannot wait to see him maximized. Jelani, I agree too. I mean, there was stuff where he was shooting B gaps for PK, and we won't do that exactly, but he clearly has that like missile-like lock-on ability that I think will be important. I don't know. I don't know with nickel what we'll end up with that. I don't know what Masco would look like in that world.
Dime might be the better question. They just need somebody really heady to play in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have that guy or not.
I don't either.
John Williams someday, maybe.
We'll see.
I don't know if McDonald is like McDonald. Maybe he's not been like he's not had that like Polamalu type instinct yet.
Right. Yeah, that's a pretty rare instinct, though. So I would say it probably won't get the Polamalu instinct, but
if you want to shut down a elite dual threat quarterback in a really well run spread, though, you need a guy. Maybe not.
Well, I wonder if you'll have that in year one of Muschamp, anyways, right? Like that kind of feels like the trait of the guy that grew up in the system, like as well, opposed to having to learn it that year. So I don't even know if you'll necessarily see the field general this season.
I don't know. Taft, if he were a little bigger, could have been that.
I mean, you do get Gideon back, so there's consistency there that I think can help. But year one is tough to have like true command, and then the command to even work outside of the structure at that point. Like you'll probably be very much checking boxes and be good in that system. But Taft was always able to do like know the rules, but also know when to bend the rules and know where to disguise and that level of game that I don't know if we'll have it in year one.
Yeah. Jonah Williams would be my best guess for a guy that could have that latent potential, but it's not going to activate that quickly if he's busy playing baseball. So.
All right, guys. Well, next up, we're going to talk the Stoops hire. But before we do such a thing, let's hear a word from David McClellan.
Big financial decisions don't have to feel overwhelming. There's someone who can guide you every step of the way. David McClellan is a fiduciary financial advisor with Forum Financial, and he's working closely with his clients as a true financial life coach, guiding every aspect of your financial journey with expertise and care. If his name sounds familiar, that's because David was a swimmer at Texas and a member of several national championship teams. Today, he channels that same championship mindset into helping people win with their finances. David specializes in financial planning, and he's contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. And right now, David is offering viewers a free intro consultation to assess your financial situation. Do not miss this chance to get personalized guidance from a trusted expert. To schedule your free consult, email David at dmcclellan@forumfinancial.com, or you can call him directly at 312-933-8823. The contact info is in the description.
All right, let's talk some Stoops. Stoops, there it is, baby. We hire Mark Stoops from Kentucky, a coach that I've always had respect for. We'll talk through what I like about him going forward. I don't want to sell the whole thing. I have a problem with introducing the topic and giving away the thesis before Ian can get it, so I'll let him explain more. But we do pick up Stoops. Another good hire, man. These offseason hires have been nice. What are your opening thoughts here, Ian?
Well, let's not rule out the possibility that this is a plant
double agent
on behalf of Oklahoma that's going to feed Brent Venables and the Oklahoma staff Texas's game plan and all their secrets.
Yeah. I would put in the contract you cannot go to Thanksgiving. You cannot go to Christmas. You can't be hanging out with your brothers, man, if you're going to really be down with us, right?
You cannot go to Choctaw Casino.
Yep.
Or whatever that one's, the big,
You cannot associate with your family essentially while you're with us.
Yeah. So somebody in the comments pointed out that Texas has great success with former Oklahoma people like Mac Brown and Darrell K. Royal. Mark Stoops is technically not a former Oklahoma person, though.
You're right. If he's a double agent, technically it works both ways. So we can that whole week just creating an illusion of a fake game plan for him, fake meetings, the whole production, man. Really get him to bite. The inverse of the Leach dropped opening script. So this is good. This is Ian's opening. Stoops knows the SEC well, so that could be important. Well, Ian, don't you make a point similar to this?
Yeah, he's been in the SEC for a long time. He's played in the last 2 years. He's played several of Texas's key opponents for 2026. He's also played Texas, almost beat Texas. He's played Georgia a bunch of times. He knows Georgia well. He didn't really necessarily beat these teams, but at least he can bounce
a hell of a fight.
Bounce some insights. He was really good at almost ruining someone's season in Lexington once every year. Last year, he almost ruined Texas's season. The year before that, with Brock Vandegrift, he almost ruined Georgia's season. He's known for that. His deal would be like, it was so funny. He was like the very opposite of it's like, how do we win the SEC from Kentucky? You would think like, well, you're going to have to be asymmetrical. You're going to have to approach football strategy differently than everybody else. And he would like flirt with that now and then, try to hire an air raid guy every once in a while. But it would always just default to, we're going to play bully ball. We're going to try to grind the game down, hold on to the ball. Nobody's going to score on either team. And we'll try to eke out a close win against. And then it was like, we're going to make sure that we're always respectable in SEC play, and you cannot bully us in the trenches. So we'll wear the SEC insignia with pride. We'll hold up our end of the deal, and then we'll lose.
Yeah.
Every week.
Well, one thing that I always noticed about Kentucky, and even when we were watching the film, they're a big football team. Like they look good. And that's what was always so surprising. The difference at, the bottom of the SEC versus the top is like, you'd be thinking, okay, here, we're going to have a light week. And then I turn on the tape and I'm like, these guys are huge. Like these are huge corners. These are huge defensive linemen. They got guys to the league. I think you point out corners was one of their specialties, but then they'd have that interior guy. So I thought their development, if you wanted big, strong SEC athletes, they did that consistently.
Yeah, they had, almost put a corner in the league almost every year for like 4 or 5 years. Put offensive linemen in the league, put tight ends in the league, put linebackers and defensive linemen in the league. He's a good defensive guy. I think some of the modern tweaks to defense have kind of left him in the dust a little bit. They're always like top 40 in defense, except for 2022 they were 16th. So their ball control strategy made their defense maybe look a little better than it really was, right?
Yeah.
But they're always solid. He's a Stoops brother, so he understands like that Stoops school of defense, which is again kind of outdated, but good for its time. Good foundation. Knows how to recruit the South. Knows how to find large guys in the South that can project the NFL without them being 5 stars. That's valuable, especially in the NIL era where you kind of want to keep your powder dry for
the top of the class
and for the transfer portal. It's really valuable right now to be good at scouting developmental 3 stars. Really good at game planning specific opponents. He was good. If you let him, he would give like 1 or 2 teams real trouble every year, right? If you just make that his full-time job, that's pretty promising. Although he won't have the advantage if he just comes to Sark and he's like, so here's what you do. On 1st and 2nd down, you either run the ball or you throw it for 3 yards. And then on 3rd down, you do it again. And if that doesn't work, maybe you do it on 4th down. Make sure where you are on the field. If he produces that and that's his master plan, then this will have been a waste of money.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, if he's if he's actually going to be involved in game plan, or if it's the stuff on the periphery, like being able to identify younger talent, knowledge of opposing systems, that kind of thing, versus like true game plan stuff. I mean, I'm sure Muschamp won't kick him out of the room, but this hire to me just felt like you're paying for all the knowledge of a guy that's been an SEC head coach for a long time, opposed to specifically like a real scheme daddy,
Yeah. He also he knows the Oklahoma staff super well, presumably.
Yeah.
He's
And
tried.
Stoops is still like the shadow governor
Yes,
going on over there.
the number of the guys on the Oklahoma staff right now, it's insane. Like Kevin Wilson is back. Ben Arbuckle is basically just the new version of Leach or Mangino or Lincoln Riley. You just go hire the up and coming air raid guy. Bill Bedenbaugh has been there for forever. Brent Venables, obviously. Schmidt, the strength coach. I think there's some other guys too. It's like a who's who of. It's just the Stoops coaching tree that's still going for there. Ryan Nelson says, Ian, OU ain't our goal. OU is
Don't say this to Ian. Don't you ever say that to Ian.
there is no bigger goal than beating Oklahoma.
Yeah, this argument will never, ever work against Ian.
If you cannot beat Oklahoma, you are spiritually unworthy of any greater goals.
Yep.
We'll get back to that.
Yeah, Ian ties this more to the human soul. Then it's not in the football realm for Ian. It's in a higher plane, correct?
Yeah, you're not going to win the national championship anyway if you can't beat Oklahoma. So, yeah, he has insights. He tried to hire air raid guys a couple times and then just gave up because he could never get it right. He also would hire outside zone guys, and that's when some of his best teams. So he has insights into the air raid, stopping it, which matters against Oklahoma and Ole Miss. And then he has insights into building your offense with outside zone. He had Liam Cohen as his offensive coordinator, who's now in the NFL, and that kind of pro style approach, being physical on the offensive line and with tight end. There's a million things that he knows well. He was not good enough to be a great head coach, but usually if you can get to the level of SEC head coach, it probably means that you are ultra super duper competent in probably multiple realms of football. So
it's a club, dude. Like if you're in the SEC club, man, the other coaches like give you respect too. That's why most of like position coaches are like, he was at LSU to Florida to Georgia to now Texas. There's something about that. They have a little.
I feel like you're undercutting my argument here.
No, I think that's the point. Is like no, I mean like through merit. If you're in the SEC club, they take it as like, hey man, you were able to hang with us. So I think it is a factor. I mean, there's definitely a factor that he would coach in the SEC, right? There's value to that. He faced those teams.
Yeah. Ryan Nelson. LSU is bigger fish than Oklahoma. Ian is more scared of LSU. I would qualify this. I think LSU is a better team than Oklahoma. I think playing at LSU is probably the hardest game on the schedule, but you can lose that game and go to the playoffs and just beat them in the playoffs or avoid them in the playoffs. You have to beat Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl.
Why? I mean, I get the why, but like actually technically why?
Because they're going to make it their mission to beat you.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you win every other game and lose to Oklahoma in the bowl,
if you shy away from that challenge or you fail and shirk from that challenge, you know the two. Have you ever heard the two dog theory? Like you have two dogs in you, and whichever one you feed,
the two wolves, yeah.
Two wolves. Whichever one you feed is the one that grows stronger. Yeah. When you lose to Oklahoma, you're feeding the I'm going to lay down in big games wolf. You're feeding the I'm going to shy away and I'm not going to I'm going to shirk away in big moments wolf. You can lose to LSU and not do that. If you do that against Oklahoma, then don't expect the alpha wolf to be there and manifest.
I mean, to be fair, we beat A&M and OU and still lost other games and fed. A lot of wolves got fed this season. I think you have a deep spiritual bond to beating OU, and I don't know if it's tied necessarily to having to beat OU.
Oklahoma sucked last year.
Yeah. Sure, but it's just like I don't. You technically, I want to beat them every time, but it's just you technically do not have to beat them. Or beating them doesn't mean that you'll show up, that your wolf will show up across the thing and you lose to Florida and Ohio State and all that too.
Okay,
I think
but
you have a. I
it's
think you have a
definitely not going to show
mythical.
up if you. It's definitely not going to show up if you run and hide from OU.
Well, there's running and hiding from OU, and there's losing by 3. So there's also like that aspect too. Sure, if they beat you by 40 points and embarrass you, but if it's a shootout that you lose by 3, I don't think it's as big of a true indictment, even though it hurts.
Just tell me a year when Texas met their goals after losing to Oklahoma.
What's the goal? National championship?
Just the goals for that season. I'll give you anything.
We lost to OU and went to the playoffs, right?
Are you referring to 2024 when they got beat by Washington?
I'm saying, but you got to give me the goals.
That was not
What's
the goal.
goal? Make
They were like
playoffs.
favored. They were like favored to beat Washington.
But is the goal the playoffs or the national championship?
It just depends on the season.
Okay. Well, I'm saying we have lost and continued to go far. But I do think it's a limited scope. But also, are there years that we beat OU and didn't meet our goals? Yes. You won't hear such a thing. You can't hear. I can't get through on this one. OU has such a powerful.
This is like a. Can you abandon your child and still be a good parent? Yeah, probably. There's probably a way you could work out a redemption arc where you're still a good parent after you abandon your child.
Yeah, once they're like 25, you just say, "Hey, how you doing, bud?"
It's like in the end, dad was there in the end. He was a good dad at the end. That's what they say at the funeral. But it's like, yeah, but he did abandon you from 6 to 17. Yeah. Sure. So sure, that is theoretically possible. I concede.
Yeah. All right. So we get the intel on the Stoops shadow government. That's the big thing. But I just think these are solid hires that he's made. He's just made a lot of and all of them kind of have a theme too of like they produce tough athletes or tough teams. Like seems to be a big emphasis on like mentality and playing tough that I've noticed. It seems like every hire they're trying to check that. Homer just wants both teams to have fun. They got mad at me yesterday because I was talking from the perspective of OU about with their new receivers and tight ends and getting their offensive line better, that hopefully Mateer is able to activate more and have a better season. Everybody was like, hopefully Mateer can have a better season. So sometimes I do get caught up. Sometimes I'll just switch sides on you, apparently. Ian, was OSU a failure in 2024 because they lost to Michigan but won the Natty?
A little bit. They did get Barstool, what's his name, taunting them the next year. Like that'll always stick in their well,
they were about to fire him until he went on the legendary run, so it's clearly mattered to them.
They also, we'll see what happens this year, but he really doubled down on some meathead stuff that we'll see how it works out for them. So getting back to Stoops just for a second, the toughness thing is huge. Like Sark keeps hiring guys that are going to reinforce toughness and physicality and strength. That Stoops is going to be one more guy in there being like, your team needs to be stronger, right? We got some Eric, for all the doubters. Eric had a report that was like, yeah, the team wasn't very strong last year. They're trying to get stronger now. Imagine that. We've only been saying that. This guy helps with that. And Joe tracked down this interesting story last year where sometimes these peripheral guys like Stoops can be very valuable in unseen ways. Where he had this deal where Arch Manning, his freshman year at Texas, Arch Manning confessed that he was like really bummed out, really frustrated, stuck behind Quinn Ewers, couldn't play, totally unused to it. And Paul Christ was like his mentor for like that season.
Yeah, like a therapist.
He was just like available. If you read Better to Be Feared by Seth Wickersham about the Brady Belichick dynasty with New England, it is unbelievable reading about Brady at Michigan, where he's just whining and complaining all day, every day, because the staff doesn't believe in him and they recruit over him and they're trying to keep him off the field all the time and they want nothing to do with Tom Brady as their starter. Which is hilarious in retrospect. And he had like this like one coach there, or this like one sports psychologist or something that would just talk him through it every day, all the time, let him vent, and then say like, quit being a wimp and quit whining. And what are you going to do about it? And you can just read and see how Brady became, how he was able to channel all that frustration and energy into the focused machine of war that he became. So, yeah, having old, smart, good football guys around the program without a ton to do,
right,
is potentially very valuable. I guess there's probably some major downsides that could happen from that too, but
yeah, but they can also just kind of find their role, right? They can find the leak in the program and try to solve it.
That could be the old sage. It's like sits at the park bench and then,
and opposition research, I mean, it matters, man. Like having coaches that can switch sides and tell you what they really think about you and how they were talking about attacking you in their rooms. I mean, that's why you bring Muschamp, right? Is to figure out why Georgia keeps killing you. And then you bring an old competitor, Stoops, who took you down to the wire. Not a great record, but still a respected, like I said, a respected SEC head coach in those circles. So you're bringing guys there. And then you're bringing a bunch of other SEC known travelers like Jaluk. So I think he is trying to look at himself from a different angle. And also the angle of Kirby Smart keeps making fun of us in press conferences for being soft. And I am not going to let this happen anymore.
Dude, so much for the culture of last year.
What do you mean?
Like he spent last offseason talking up the Texas culture.
Yeah.
And I think he was just wish casting.
Yeah.
This offseason, it's like, we got to get our culture better. It's like, I thought that was like the strength of your team.
But it was also really funny because like they're like how it's like double speak. They're like, not that the culture was bad last year, but we are really focusing on culture this year to get better. But not that the culture was bad. We're just getting the culture better. And it's like, guys, we saw how the team looked. We know that something happened there. But it is funny how they kind of are playing both sides of that. But they're also going back to implementing actual stuff they did when the culture was good. So like the team leadership thing, the shirts, which are just a psychological tool that you can visually see who's not handling their business. So it's a good tool of embarrassment and social cohesion. Culture, blah, blah. He won't admit defeat that his offense was the problem. I mean, his offense was the problem, but also culture can be that.
My youngest son's kindergarten teacher did something like that recently, where like the kids just like weren't listening or following the rules or something. So she invented something called the 5 Club, where you do all 5 things right, and then they like get awarded at the end of the week. And they're all like, "Well, the 5 Club."
Yeah, it works for whatever reason.
100%. My kid is he's like won it twice, and he's so excited.
Human beings want status. It's like it's a core driver for whatever reason, because we're social animals, and you want to be looked upon with the correct color shirt as a true leader, and you don't want to have the out group shirt of you not handling business. So it was concrete things too. Like people are culture, and I know that they just think it's like posters on the wall, which is always annoying. If you ever were in a bad corporate American country or company, you would see the fake culture everywhere. But they're implementing actual things. And then of course added strength in the weight room, all that kind of stuff. They already run an insane amount. So I do think it'll be better. I also do think we have more first round talents on this team, so that will naturally coincide. And then you have more experienced guys, and of course you brought in some great transfers. So I'm less weary this season going in than I was last season. Still got to figure out offensive line, but whatever. All right, Ian, you want to tell the people any final thoughts before we head out?
No,
It's funny because no one, I was going to say, most people just go or don't want to go, no, I have nothing to share. They'll just like generate something out of their brain.
I do like this last Sugar Poppy comment. Hazing creates great culture. This is one of those things that is true and you're not supposed to say, but yes, it 100% does.
Did you see that?
Culture defined as a group that is all cohesively pursuing a goal together, right?
Did you see that police cam video of that frat that had all those guys down in the basement? You should go watch it. It was all over Twitter and YouTube. They had like 30 guys in the basement. That level of hazing is weird and just it felt like a cult and it was creepy. But the psychological tactics of like, you're in a bad shirt color, my friend. Those little things actually do work pretty often.
Code Reds. Code
We'll
Reds.
See. What's Code Reds?
A Few Good Men.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry about that. Everybody head to Inside Texas. Join for $1. New members only. Link is down there in that there description. Everybody, this was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Stay locked in at noon. We got a video with Jet and Drew. We're going to be talking what it's like to be a football player at Tejas. And then, of course, Alive this evening. So be on the lookout, everybody. Thank you, and see you later.